Hello,
Welcome to
everyone.
Hellish Brain Activity,
This
episode 1.
is a shitty Cut
Right.
this out. Cut this thing fucking out.
Why? Why would I do that?
This was the best intro. Hold
Yeah.
on, let me read the poem. That was
It's
my
only
idea.
because it just doesn't fade out.
What poem?
It's so
From
bad.
Garden of Words.
Oh, right, my bad. Well, okay, well,
We
first,
got-
let's
Okay,
introduce
fine.
what we're talking about first. Damn. All right, so yeah, this is episode 1 officially of Hellish Brain Activity. We'll be talking about The Garden of Words by what's the author's name again? Robert?
Makoto Shinkai.
Yeah, Makoto Shinkai. And yeah, this is the property that Robert brought to us, the book that he wanted us to read. So we're starting with that because it's short and we were able to get through it more quickly than any of the other things. So
Yeah. So, right, okay, so the first 2 chapters, let's give a quick summary. Basically, in the first chapter, we learn about this 15-year-old boy, Taco, and his experiences with basically like loneliness and like just being like disgusted with the world and um, trying to like be mature, but also like struggling with that. And the second chapter, we learn about this woman Yukino, and like she's like fully grown, and she meets Taco in the park, and she's also like reminiscing on when she was back in school, and she used to like feel very isolated because of her beauty.
yeah,
Yeah.
Robert, actually, the first thing I wanted to ask you was how are you supposed to pronounce the main character's name?
Which one?
The guy.
Taco?
Taco?
Taco, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, Taka's the first part, O is the second part.
Okay, got it. Because yeah, I wasn't sure how that one was supposed to be pronounced. All right, so yeah, that was a good summary. I think these worked really well as like intro chapters. It's very convenient that that's just like I presume that's just the 2 main characters. If there are more, then whoops. But it's nice that they get introduced like immediately and they get their own chapters dedicated to them rather than
Yeah, it'd be funny as fuck if there were like just 10 people just regularly meeting at the park by the end. Actually, that would go hard.
Yeah, no, that would be sick. Uh,
I mean, that's how like discords like these happen.
true. So we didn't meet any park. I think the OM community is as far away from a park as you could get,
Right.
right?
I
I guess
think it's close to a park actually.
How so?
how so?
I don't think I would agree that.
Regular fights and people just like watching and shit posting.
I
And
don't
then you get cops.
and then you get cops. Right. Okay, so wait, who are the cops in this metaphor? Were you a cop?
Uh,
The moderators. The liberals.
yes, I was once a cop, sadly.
Wow.
No.
Fiora used to be a cop. This is so cringe. She will be excommunicated shortly. Oh, I guess for context, fucking we didn't really go into it all that much last time. But yeah, we all met from playing like not only competitive Pokemon, but a specific niche in competitive Pokemon that plays metas that are not replicable on cartridge for the most part. Um, and so yeah, they call themselves OM, stands for other metas because yeah, they're just not
To be
standard
clear,
play.
we did play the one that is actually replicable on carton.
Yeah,
and
we all
printed
did
inside.
we all did play the only one that was replicable on cart.
So stab and AA.
Oh, well, I forgot that those were replicable. I forget that those are OMs. I haven't played any of these in like forever. You
Well, by
must forgive
replicable,
me.
they generally mean without hacking, but that's beside the point.
Oh, you couldn't do AAA without hacking.
Yeah. So it's not
Oh,
I guess you
it's
could
not
do stab
replicable.
mons, but it would
thing is, you
suck
can't even
ass.
do M&M without hacking. Even with hacking.
Yeah.
It's fun.
You could do mix and mega with hacking. It would just be really tedious.
Right.
I'm so probably correct. I am.
Yeah, you just have your opponent send you what their team is, and then you like modify the stats so it matches, and then you play.
Uh-huh.
Um,
I think I tried doing that before.
sure.
But
Oh.
anyway, um, okay, so we started with what was the first scene again? I think it's him on the train, Takao on the train.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, I want to kill so many people. And I read that, I was like, beast.
Yeah, no.
Right.
My notes for that, or my first thing here is this guy either hates the train or hates people.
I think it's
It's
both.
definitely hates people.
Yeah, no, because the way that I did it is that I
Hates
just
injustice
any
society.
thought I had that I thought would be even the tiniest bit relevant, I just put it down. So if I updated that thought later, I just put another bullet point there, like taking note of it. So I was like, oh yeah, immediately after that, he imagines mowing people down with a machine gun. So it's probably the people. Then let's see. I pulled out this quote that comes out later, which I don't remember exactly where, but it says, on a rainy day when he walks along by himself in his school or his high school uniform, he's just another part of the scenery. To me, that makes it seem like maybe he hates either like standing out from people or generally being perceived rather than like the people themselves. What do you guys think?
I think it's deeper than that. Like, I don't know. I definitely related to this dude way back in the day.
Right.
Um, like just being part of the scenery, like it yeah. I know this is going to sound really funny after last episode, but it does feel like an idea of like being dead or even a desire for death.
Oh, this again. Okay.
Yeah.
Care to
Yes.
elaborate?
Like being part of the scenery, you don't have to worry about being a person. Like I guess Tako's arc is mainly about his struggles with grappling about being a person in general.
Mm.
Right.
You see this with um a lot with his interactions with that girl Miho, um and like the way he's like trying to come off to her as mature, and but even though there's like nothing really under the surface, he just like drank in middle school or whatever,
Right.
and had to grow up by himself, like. But yeah, I feel like the being part of the scenery is like, I don't know, it can be interpreted in a lot of ways, but the way I saw it was that was that he just doesn't want to be a part of that like mature life.
All right. I guess my question would be then like, what do you think the distinction is between that and like generally being perceived? Because I don't like disagree with you, but to me it seems like generally being perceived is the more wide look about it, and then like within the possible reasons for why he feels that way is what you just described.
Um, well, yeah, being perceived is it's just so broad that I didn't really like find it especially helpful here as a concept,
I
or like the
think
disdain for that, I guess. And plus, like, you can participate in adulthood without like necessarily being perceived. And I think like he would maybe want to avoid that as well.
okay, that's fair. I do think like I think it even though it is vague, it is kind of helpful because it's like the character who hates other people because he's just like a nihilist and thinks that everyone sucks or something, compared to a character that hates other people because of the pressure that they feel from them like being around. I think those are two very, very different types of characters, and that's why I think saying that maybe he just hates being perceived, even if it is kind of vague, I think that's like still a helpful distinction. But
Well,
I'm sorry, go on.
yeah, I wouldn't label him as a nihilist here.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
as a nihilist.
Okay.
We are going to beat you to death.
We are going to beat you
Don't
to
cut that
death.
one out. She sounds cute.
All right.
Yeah.
But Robert, I'm interested on since you're like the one who like brought this to us and read it first. I'm
Mhm.
interested to hear your take on like that specific line. Do you need me to repeat the line or?
Yeah, you can repeat the line. I'm just thinking like,
Okay, yeah, it's on a rainy day when he walks along by himself in his high school uniform. He's just another part of the scenery.
for me, it feels like I kind of interpreted this is this is partly because uh I get a slightly different perspective when I watch the film, but
Mm-hmm.
in the film what happens is that like when he's walking in the park, it's something like it zooms way out, so all you see are like the trees and then there's like him like
Oh
really small
yeah.
like walking across the bridge. So I thought like being a part of the scenery just means that like he's kind of like dwarfed by the beauty of like the nature around him.
Right.
That's a
Okay.
helpful perspective.
Yeah. Because like without having seen the movie, we wouldn't have gotten that.
Yeah.
Also, like I always forget that this book is like based on a movie, and um like it you can tell because it's written in like a kind of eccentric way. I wouldn't say bad or like cheesy or whatever, but like the style is like a little bit unconventional.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like
would say, I noticed
I
that
can't
too.
explain it. I can't explain it.
Yeah, I noticed it and I was like, it was reminiscent of like something to me. I've definitely read some piece of fiction that was written in a way that was like it reminded or this reminded me of it, but I can't even like remember what it was. But it's definitely kind of an eccentric way to write. I think it's mainly coming from like how how it describes like the scenery sometimes. And like though when he describe I can't even I didn't pick out a specific line, but there were some times where he was describing something or describing something about like the way that that Taco was feeling about something that was
Mhm.
like, yeah, this kind of reads like you saw the movie and you had to like restructure the body language that was like being presented without
Uh,
overcomplicating it so it could still be like communicated to the reader.
right.
So yeah, it was like it was done well because it didn't really take me out of it. It was just like when I was looking back at it, I was like, oh right, this was adapted from a movie, and so that's why like something like this would happen.
Yeah.
I
And
do
then
like the writing.
yeah, yeah. Then before we move on from this particular line, Fiora, did you have any particular thoughts about it?
I, I don't really have many thoughts on it.
All right,
Mhm.
okay. If not about that, the particular line, did you have any things you wanted to comment on about the train scene as a whole?
Mm, I was more interested in how it was quite a heavy critique of industrial society as a whole. That's really where my um, interest was piqued. It's especially greatly contrasted with the sounds that basically how the author has described the rain
Mhm.
scene.
Huh.
And of course the park later on.
Yeah.
I didn't really catch that, so I am thinking about that now. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that was definitely
I
there.
really did like the rain part. That was a huge part. That's mm, just the smell of the rain. It is something that hits home for me.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I imagine it
like
rains all the time over there.
Amelia.
Yeah, you never get to smell wet wood like that.
I actually personally
This is
found
what
more
reminds me
meaning.
of that.
Go ahead. Yeah. I actually found more meaning in the line before the one you pointed out. Maybe it's because they all have umbrellas up, because the rain falls on all of them equally.
Yeah, that's also a really good line. What exactly was it for you?
Just just like how the rain is like kind of miserable, but like the way like it disperses his alienation and hatred makes it like kind of a welcome presence in a weird way. And of course, we also see that later on with like, oh, I only skipped school in the rain. No, I only skipped work in the rain. Oh, we're gonna hang out in the rain. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess when I read it, I just like I didn't think that much about it, or yeah, I should have given more attention to it. But it was just like I saw the line afterwards, and I was like, oh, okay, so we're getting
Mhm.
some like context as to why he was just imagining mowing everyone down with a machine gun. That's cool.
He's alienated as fuck.
Alienated as fuck.
Mm.
And then I forgot why or what particular line like made me think this, but I think almost immediately after he goes on to describe like the things about the rain that he appreciates. And I was like, okay, well, even if he fucking despises people, he at least appreciates the world, you know?
Mhm.
Like, cause I don't know, I don't think I could relate to a character who is just like fucking screw people and screw the world. I hate it here. I want to leave or something. You know, it's like I've felt like that before, but it's never been something that like resonated with me. Like whenever I felt that way, I would have to slow down and recognize like, oh, I just am really upset right now. Like that's not um part of who like I really am. And so if the character was like that long term, I don't think I could uh relate to him as much, and it would definitely like tank my enjoyment of the story.
Mhm.
And then um somewhat inappropriately, I when we get to the scene with Takao's mom, I just put that she is indecisive and apparently very easily wooed.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Because yeah, she just goes on to describe how like she had this series of relationships and they all ended because it was someone else expressed interest in her, or she had like slight interest in someone else and stuff. And I thought that was really interesting, mainly because it's like I think personally that's like a weird way to broach the topic of a divorce with your kid, right? Like
Mhm.
my parents are divorced, and the way that I found out was that like my dad picked me up from school one day and we were driving home and he starts telling me about it, and I was like 4 at the time, I think, probably maybe 5. And he didn't really give like much preamble. He just gave like the standard like your mom and I love you, right? And I was just
Mhm.
like, I had just gotten picked up from school. I just had a great day. He brought me some snacks. I was vibing. I was like, yeah, of course. Like you just brought me treats. What are you talking about?
Mhm.
Um, and like from that, I don't have a lot of perspective on how people really broach the topic of impending divorce with older kids. So like maybe this is somewhat normal, but to me it was just like that's a weird way to bring it up. Especially because the way that I read that scene is that I feel like it may have implied that the divorce is happening because she was once again wooed easily. And I'm like,
Yeah.
does the does the author want us to perceive the mother as like a somewhat promiscuous like person, or at least like someone whose I guess emotional foundation isn't that strong when it comes to relationship? Because it's like what do we get out of like perceiving the mother that way? And I don't know. I'm just curious about your guys' thoughts about that.
I mean, as someone who like had parents going through the divorce when I was what 17. Um, I mean the the way she just said we're getting a divorce seems is kind of well, it's definitely just like kind of ham-fisted, I guess. Well, I guess I feel like my parents had to always like cover it with other things.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, I can kind of relate to that because I also remember specific about that day. Like when I got home, my mom was very upset that my dad had told me because according to her, they had talked about like doing it together. And
Hmm.
whenever I think about it, I'm always curious about like what kind of impact that would have had on me. Um, like learning it just from my dad compared to learning it just together. Because frankly, I was, like I said, I was 5. I didn't even really understand what a divorce was. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess they're not married now. And
Hmm.
it's not like as a 5-year-old I had any particular ideation about like marriage or anything. So to me, it was just a situation that had a lot of words attached to it that I didn't like really understand.
Yeah, yeah. Just a difficult and complicated situation.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just like I don't know. It stuck with me that like Taco's mom was portrayed this way. I think it's a very interesting choice, and like as much as I try to be like super, death of the author when I'm reading stuff, I can't help but wonder like, is this potentially a reflection of maybe the author's own perception of like how a divorce can happen? But I'm hoping like later on we get more context to it or something because I just feel like it was a very interesting choice to have made as the author.
Mhm.
I'm not going to lie, this kind of reminds me of that one post on Twitter that was like turning to 11-year-old in seat next to me. I'm here to see a panic attack handled well and with sincerity.
Well, no, I get where you're coming from, but it's like I don't think it's like a bad depiction of the discussion. I just think the
Mhm.
exact choice about it is interesting because like this makes sense to me that that is a way that it could happen because it's like you
Mhm.
just have this what he said he was like what 12, 13 when this happened?
He was like starting middle school, so like 12.
12, 15, yeah. Or not 15, 12, 13. So yeah, it's like this makes sense to me that it would be brought up like that, but I just think it's an interesting choice. It's like I don't know. I'm struggling to like put
Wait,
it into words without
wait.
repeating myself.
Middle
Uh,
school is like 12 to 13 for you guys?
Yeah,
Yeah, we
cuz
have 5 grades of elementary school.
uh-huh.
It's like 10 for me.
Yeah,
Oh
no. I
yeah,
That's
was
crazy.
I was definitely 10 in 5th grade. I
yeah.
don't
So maybe
know
11 to 14, I think.
I don't know if I was 10 going into it or coming out, but I was definitely 10 at some point during that year. For
Hmm. But yeah, basically, like this just the divorce scene, I guess, just goes to show that his mom just like doesn't have stuff together, like in general, like if he's interrupting her, like it really stuck out to me when he was like, "Hey, why are you telling me about this?" When he's like like stop doing this. Like when he's like 12 years old, and he's like kind of like I guess taking care of her in this weird way,
yeah.
like you've been drinking a little too much today, mom. Like, oh yeah, it's one of those households.
Yeah. Yeah, they get through making sure that you know that very quickly.
Hmm.
But I liked the interruption too, because it was like I wonder what she would have said if she had just kept going.
Uh,
But then he's just like, dude, I'm sorry, I don't care. Like maybe when I'm older, but like most kids don't want to hear this from their parents. And I just thought that was really funny. And it's like part of me wondered, is just like, should I be finding that funny considering the rest of the scene, the tone of it? But I'm like, whatever, it is funny. And then yeah, I took note here of like Takao's reaction to finding out that his parents are getting divorced, where I said, Takao feels like shit should not go down until he's an adult. Unfortunately, shit goes down much earlier than that for most people. And it's like for me that kind of struck a chord because like my early teens I felt that way a lot too. Um, 'Cause I just grew up like really fucking poor after my mom and dad got divorced. Frankly, I don't think my mom was able to really get shit together. Not that this country makes it easy for a single mother to do that, but she still did it, and it was like not around Taco's age because from like 12 to 13, I can't really remember anything super significant that was happening for me that like was making me feel like shit is going down far too early. Actually no, I take that back. I do remember. I just felt like I had like way too much responsibility at that age
Mhm.
because because of my mom being the way she was. I felt like it was on me to make sure that my brothers were like actually had meals that were cooked for them or at least made for them because none of them could do anything, and making sure that dishes were cleaned and stuff. And she would always have me doing some sort of like chore or whatever that I was like, you could have done this. You were here all day doing nothing. I was at school, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and like now, I still think those feelings were partially valid, but it's not as big a deal as I thought it was at that age. It was more so later down the line where I was like, oh, okay, we're getting evicted and now we're gonna be homeless for the next like 9 months. That's really awesome. And we were just hopping from place to place. And there was one particular time where we got kicked out of a place because I fell asleep, and during that time, my brothers were playing with this little girl that was like the daughter of the people who were hosting us because it was we were staying with some friends that my mom had made, and I don't even remember what exactly happened. I think just like the daughter got hurt, and so they were
Mm.
very upset. And my mom was just like, you were supposed to be watching them, and I was like, well, I'm sorry. This was literally the day after we arrived, and we walked there at like 2 a.m. from the last place we were at. Like, and I was like 14 or 15 maybe. I was like, no, not 15. I was like 13 or 14. I was like, I'm tired. Like, this is the fact that we're in this situation is not something I should be having to deal with. And yeah, so in that I related to Takao where I was just like, yeah, no, I get feeling like shit should just not be happening to you until you are at an age where it's kind of feels appropriate for you to have to start dealing with shit. But like for a lot of people, that's just not a luxury they get.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, did anyone else have anything they wanted to say about that scene?
Um, Not really. I think you analyzed it really well. I did want to, I guess, note that um in the film, this scene doesn't actually happen. There's actually
Whoa.
very little that's shown of the mother.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
So I think this adaptation is kind of interesting because it kind of goes up, goes in and fleshes more of the characters out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
respect that.
Yeah, no, that is a bold move. Okay, well
Mhm.
now I'm kind of curious because to me the divorce and like feeling like he's forced to be an adult earlier than he should, to me that seems to be like the source of how isolated Takao feels.
Mhm.
So how is that portrayed like in the film? Are we given any context for why he feels that way, or like what might be causing it, or what might have caused it?
I mean, you will see later, but the mother is just like very absent from the house.
I
Um,
see.
so So he has his brother, and he has to do things by himself mostly.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I must say uh I like the book's like reasoning, I guess, a lot more because I think both of those work for um explanations for like why Taco feels the way he does. But I agree with you, or I agree with Aaron, you both, that like this does flesh it out more. It feels like the context is more substantial, if that makes sense, you know?
Hmm.
Because like I don't want to make it sound like I'm minimizing like how or trying to dictate what is an appropriate level of isolation to feel given someone's circumstances, you know? But
Hmm.
uh but yeah, with the context of yeah, his parents got a divorce at a young age, it's like that works better, I think, for the character. At least from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. And then I mean after this my next note says that his shoes have had attention called to them twice now. Because like during the scene where he's talking about the rain, that also happens, and he's like in the garden, I think. It might have been before the garden, but I guess that they do kind of explain that later, where it's like he had a fascination with a woman's shoes growing up, and he's responsible for like making sure his mother's shoes are taken care of.
I took that to mean that he is autistic.
Right.
What? What? How?
Really? Because I presumed, like, I made a joke to myself in my head when I read the later line about him having a fascination with women's shoes later, that you were just gonna say that you took that to mean that he was going to be trans.
That too.
Okay, I actually thought that one. Mm,
Sometimes I ponder whether it is a good thing or a bad thing that I find you so easy to model. Does that say something good about me or bad about you?
It's just a robot girl simulator,
Robot Girl Simulator.
like in
Okay.
your brain.
Yeah, yeah, true.
It's like Desmume.
Okay, so I have an emulator for a robot girl in my brain. That is your proposition.
mm,
Exactly. Yes.
Interesting. All right. Uh, then let me see. The next thing I have is that early in chapter one, I got the impression that like this was meant to be a coming of age story where Takao learns who he is and becomes himself. Mainly
Hmm.
because there's a line somewhere in there where he talks about how I think Miho, like, she knows who she is or what. Oh, no, no, no. When he's describing the rain, or he's in the garden, I think, he says, like, to himself, oh, I think I'm starting to understand, like, what I like, or something like that, you
Oh
know?
yeah, yeah, that part.
Yeah, and that to me, that was like, oh, okay, so this is like, he's gonna learn who he is and then, like, grow into that person. Because, like, before, he's just kind of a being who exists, but not in like a distinct way.
Hmm.
Um, and I might be just be projecting a little because I feel like before I started really knowing who I was, that was kind of how I felt, where I was like, yeah, I'm like here, I'm a real person. That's easy to test. I have consequences on the world, but like, what is distinguishing me really? You know? And it's
Hmm.
also a feeling that I've had or I've seen in a lot of like various friends I've had who also don't have like a strong sense of self-image, where it's like it seems to be like this sense of confusion about like, okay, well, if there's nothing to distinguish me, then how real am I really? And
I
so
kind of
like,
struggle to
Hmm.
relate to that because I'm the autistic kid.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I kind of struggle to relate to that because I'm the autistic kid.
Oh, so did you just what do you mean? Do you mean like you had a strong sense of self-image,
Yeah,
or do you mean like,
I had a very strong sense of image.
oh, damn, how fortunate.
Can't believe this.
I can't believe this. But yeah, so like when I saw that, I was like, this is very reminiscent of all the people I've met who like don't really know what they like or don't really know what it is they're passionate about, and so they feel like they don't have a strong sense of self, whether or not that's true.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, yeah, later parts of the chapter kind of just like spell that out to me at least, that that's like what the intended character arc that we're gonna see for Takao is. What do you guys think?
Hmm.
I can definitely see that. Yeah.
I do agree that like Tako, like a big part of his character is like he's just trying to be a person. It feels like he's not like he's not a distinct entity, and he's like really like struggling to deal with that. Like he's struggling to express himself, to like communicate with Miho, like we see.
Yeah,
Like
I did not like that scene, by the way. It was well written. I just did not find it pleasant to read.
yeah, unpleasant memories.
I was just like, damn, this motherfucker is fucking up already. Chapter one,
Yeah, like, oh, I'm gonna kiss you, and then like walk away. What the fuck are you doing? What are you doing?
literally like
What was he cooking? What was the idea there?
textbook, don't do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
He misclicked. That's why.
He fucked up the QuickTime event.
Yeah.
he choked his wind cunt.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I saw that, and then I was like, fuck. Because I always I hate scenes in fiction where like stuff like that happens, mainly because it makes me uncomfortable. It and I'm uncomfortable because it's like I want to see characters not fuck up specifically in this way. I think the way that I've seen it described before is like sometimes in a piece of fiction, a character is just holding the idiot ball. You know,
Yeah,
like
they're trying to lose. They're throwing.
yeah, like a decision is made because the plot has to move forward, right?
Hmm.
Like like if you have a really strong villain, you can't if you can't have the hero realistically just win, you have the villain hold the idiot ball and he makes a stupid fucking decision and then he loses. And it only happens not because this is like rationally what the character would decide. This is what would they would choose based on like every choice they made previously based on what you know about them. It's just like, hey, we need to make this plot work somehow, you know? And to me, when a character makes like this sort of class of mistake, where it's like you're doing the thing that is kind of obviously wrong, and you're even like aware that it's wrong in the moment, because he says like he's just like she confronts him after like immediately after, and he just like clams up even more, and it's like that's a conscious thought he has, and so to me that feels like oh this is kind of an idiot ball moment. This sucks.
Yeah, she just walks up to him and she's like, "Hey, can you stop being a dumbass?" And he's like, "No."
Yeah, that's how it felt reading it. I'm just like, why? Just don't be a dumbass.
I've been holding the idiot ball my whole life.
And like to clarify, I don't mean that like characters shouldn't make mistakes, but I mean there's a way
Yeah,
to write a character to make a mistake where it's like you can see how they think they're not making a mistake and they only realize it on the advent of the mistake and then they're like, "Fuck, I fucked up." And it's like it's completely different to me when it's like they're aware that they're fucking up the whole time and they're still just doing it, and I'm just like, why, why?
I mean, to be fair, I've like had those thoughts before, where like
hmm,
my my conscience is like, I definitely shouldn't be doing this, and I just do it anyway.
yeah. I do like how like it
I had
says.
that problem this week.
Go ahead.
I had that problem this week.
Hmm.
Just doing reckless shit I really shouldn't be doing.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I do like how we get to like see what's in Tako's head. Let's go home. The irritation had taken over so suddenly that even he was startled, and before he even noticed the words leaving his mouth, his feet were carrying him away. Like it's like he's like kind of he just has like a bunch of like parts in him that don't work together.
Yeah. I guess like
He's being possessed by the idiot ball.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Like
that
he's like, oh, I gotta be like a mature guy and not like my mom. I gotta like not give myself away to love.
yeah, no, I'm glad that you put it that way, Robert, because like that's actually a really good way to describe why I dislike it so much. Or like another reason, because it's like yeah, the character gets possessed by the idiot ball and then it feels like all respect for the character that I would expect the author to have like goes out the window in those few moments, you know? Because it's like to me, if I respected the the intelligence of this character, even though like yeah he's a kid, if I respected the intelligence of this character, is this what I think would happen? Is this what I think the choice he would make is? And it's like to a point maybe, but I think that he should have like as soon as he had the thought like oh I this came on suddenly and I'm already walking away, maybe that should have been a sign to stop walking away. Or when Miho like catches up to him, it's like oh okay I just did something like really uh sorry I just broke out laughing because Robert posted an image that says I'm only three.
With Minnie from Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yeah, that's important context. Uh, but yeah, it's like I don't know. I'm sure this is something that I've also done myself, but I think it's like I think it's different knowing before you do something that it's like not the right or optimal thing to do or whatever, and like still doing it because like force of habit or something, compared
Hmm.
to in the moment of doing it, noticing why and how it's wrong, and then continuing to do it. Like to me, I would say like if I did that, yeah, I'm holding the idiot ball in real life
Hmm.
because like I think that once I have that thought, that's when it should be like the clue for me like hey, you know, that's you know you shouldn't. Why are you continuing, you know? And maybe I can't get
Hmm.
myself to stop cuz like I guess in a not like life situation relevant context, like when I play Smash, there's a lot of times where I'm making a mistake and I'm like, "Okay, I just realized that's a mistake. Let me not do that." But then because it's a habit, I just do it again.
Uh-huh.
Um so that's like the example I would give compared to like if I literally were to like jump at my opponent, make the decision to do something, and then realize it's wrong, and then immediately still do it instead of like while I'm doing it or afterwards, then I'm like, okay, I was holding the eight ball. Like, why am I being stupid right now?
Hmm. Yeah.
And then yeah, no, I'm glad you brought up Aaron. Him like just not wanting to be like his mom because I actually pulled that quote. I was like, damn, he really does not want to be like his mother. I pulled that out because I can relate a lot. Like, I would say I'm definitely not similar to my mother, but there are definitely some things where I was like, where I'm like, gee, I hope I never develop that trait because I don't want to be similar to her
Hmm.
in that way. Like she smokes, or at least she used to. I don't know if she still does. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm never touching that. And
Hmm.
then like my aunt used to say that my mom was like a pathological liar, and without getting into whether or not that's true, because I've never cared enough to really evaluate it as a statement, it's like if it is, sometimes I worry that I could develop that trait, especially because I do just lie a lot. Like I make sure to lie about stupid shit that isn't relevant. Like if I think that describing a situation in the funniest way possible I can do that, then I will, and then I'll immediately be like, I just made that up, by the way. But it's so easy for me that I'm like, how is this meaningfully, or like, it is meaningfully different from being a pathological liar, but can it get worse to develop in that way? You know?
Hmm.
Like, I think this happened literally last episode where I forgot what the fuck I said. Oh, yeah, I said J.K. Rowling came out and tweeted that Voldemort doesn't have a penis.
Oh yeah, no.
And then I was like, no, I literally just made that up. Like,
No,
like,
that was real actually.
And it's like it's always silly things like that. And I try really hard to be honest about anything that I think like matters, you know? Like if I'm having an emotional moment with someone, if I'm trying to, connect with them, I'm not gonna just lie. And it's to the point where sometimes it's detrimental to my relationships, where sometimes someone does just want me to lie, and I'm just like, I think this is important, and I think it's important for me to be honest.
Mhm.
Like, like if I had upset one of you guys and like we didn't talk through like why it was upsetting and you just wanted me to apologize for upsetting you wholesale, I don't know if I could do that. Or no, not like let me rephrase that. If you just wanted me to apologize for the whole situation, I don't think I could do that. I would apologize for upsetting you because that's obviously not what I want to do. But like if I don't know what I did wrong or what you think I did wrong, then like I'm not just going to flat out apologize for every action I took because I might not legitimately think that some of those things that I did were wrong, you know? And that's definitely been something that's like been damaging to other relationships I've had before where sometimes someone has just wanted a flat out apology from me and I'm just like, well, I can only apologize for this one part truthfully because if I apologize for the rest then I would be lying to you.
Mhm.
But yeah, point is that like I do relate to like just not wanting to develop traits similar to your parents. I mean, very young I realized that my parents were not the greatest people, so I was just like, I don't hold them in any high regard.
We're gonna be much better there. They'll be talking about us for years
Yeah,
after we're fully matured and we have everything perfect.
yeah, exactly. Robert, how did you like the quote unquote idiot ball scene? What
It
did you
was
think of
pretty
it?
dumb. I didn't like it.
Okay, I'm glad we're in agreement because I just realized I was like shitting on it the whole time, and it's like this is a book a thing you really like, so I was like, I don't know if you dislike that scene or not as well.
It just like doesn't make any sense to me. Like why he would do that.
Yeah,
It feels like the kind of thing I would have done unironically. Like I like had these weird ass rationalizations for doing things back in the day.
Mm,
I would treat people weirdly because um I didn't I was fed like so many conflicting messages about like how to treat people by different sources and I didn't know how to reconcile it all really. So I was just like going with stuff and like erring on the side of like extreme caution. And it was just hard for me to make anything work really.
yeah, yeah. No, it's like shit, I lost my train of thought.
It didn't even start.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I'm like I had a response prepping up for all the things you just said, just gone. But
Damn.
but yeah, no, I think what made that scene sting for me even worse is that she just leaves after it.
Yeah, yeah.
She's got
No,
cause
he leaves and then she follows him.
no, I mean like she moves away.
No, right after.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that.
she is gone. I was like, are you for real right now? Especially because I thought she was gonna be the second main character. I thought we were gonna have this like really interesting dynamic where she's like, I was hoping you were this person, and like it seems like you're not. And then he's like, wait, I made a dumb mistake. I can
mm.
be that person and better. And then he tries to, and maybe he fails because he realizes that's not a person he should be, or something like that. And then she's just gone.
Honestly, like if she stayed around and like they were like trying to be like a thing or whatever, that would have been cheesy as hell. That's been done so many ways by so many stories in the past,
I
and
guess that's
like
fair. That's fair.
it's unrealistic also.
The main
Yeah.
thing I had with chapter one is that it just doesn't really have much structure to it. Probably the biggest reason I just found myself a bit disinterested outside of a few metaphors.
I would say I don't like disagree with you, but I'm thinking maybe it's just that the structure is weird. Like I kind of struggled to tell what was a flashback and what was happening
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
present.
I totally agree. Like the time is all over the place.
Just have a huge problem with that.
Yeah. No, I get that. That was confusing. Like when he initially arrives to the garden, I thought the divorce scene happened like after he left the garden, and it seems like that's implied that it's actually happening in the past. And I'm still not entirely sure about that.
Mhm.
Is it safe to assume, Robert, that it's a lot more clear in the movie?
Um,
You can see him being like a child, I
yes, there's
assume.
like one flashback where they like have very clear uh Mexico filter.
The
The New Mexico filter?
Like the, you know.
orange.
Yeah, the orange yellowish, yeah, the Breaking Bad filter. Uh, and then let me think. What else did I have to say about that scene? Oh yeah, I put here Miho a bit based methinks. Which I
Wow.
I don't I don't know if I fully agree with that now, considering the context of the rest of the chapter and chapter two. But yeah, when she's like, oh, you think you're the only one who has to deal with like this shit, and like you're wrong, and I'm like, I think that's the line I think is a little bit based,
That
because
was a
I'm like,
cool call out, yeah.
yeah, because like she's right as far as I'm concerned, she's right.
Hmm.
You know, the gravitas of what Takao is dealing with is obviously important. It's not insignificant, but it's also not extraordinarily unique. And the only reason that I say I don't know if I fully agree with thinking that that is kind of based is because a lot of the times when people point out that the gravitas of whatever situation you're dealing with, it's to like minimize your emotions about that situation, you know?
I didn't read it as that personally. I thought it was more like, hey, you're using this divorce as an excuse to like hide away from everyone else instead of like a reason to talk to them. And that's fucking stupid for several reasons.
Yeah, no, that's how I read the scene too.
Yeah, yeah, that's based.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's like it's this sort of thing where it's like, okay,
Mhm.
there's just a lot of nuance there because like yeah, a lot of the times when people say that stuff, it is to minimize it, and it's like, is minimizing that fair? Not really, but it's also still just true that like this is big, it's bigger than you, but it's not as big as you think, and it's not
Mhm.
a reason to shut yourself down.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's why I put here that she's a bit based. And then I got like I felt reaffirmed in that when it came out that she like moved away because of a divorce, because she was like she wasn't just saying that shit to be like, yeah, you think your problems are so big, whether or not. She was like, we're going through the same thing right now, but you're shutting yourself down and I'm trying to reach out to you.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like I am taking over the discussion. I'm not sure. I don't like that, but I understand if
You're the one who came in with pages full of notes. I didn't write shit down. I just like
that's why I told people to write notes.
no, but like I feel like I can still like contribute to the discussion or whatever. Like,
You are. I feel like I worry about talking too much is the thing.
mhm. What do you guys think about like um I don't know if I can like bring up chapter two since we haven't like really gotten into it yet.
I mean, we're
So
almost done with chapter one, so it shouldn't be that big a deal. We could just finish up the rest of chapter one real quick, I think.
uh-huh.
Yeah, so
It's pretty much just him meeting Yukino, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
yeah,
and him texting Miho.
yeah.
I'm trying to grow up.
Yeah, no, I liked her response. It's like it's so simple, but I feel like that's what makes
Mhm.
it effective.
Yeah, like she's like it seems like very like she's like forgiving him.
Yeah. I think I honestly I'm thinking about it, I'm like, what do I feel made that so effective for me? I think it was just that she
Mhm.
used his full name. Like
Yeah.
it feels like Takao has been given a quest by Miho.
Yeah, that works.
And then I forgot why. I put here that I can't help but feel bad for Takao's mom. I don't remember what happened towards the later parts of chapter one to make me think that.
I mean, she's just like going through a bunch of shit. It's not super.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was the argument that she was having with presumably Takao's father.
Oh yeah.
And then he comes in and he's like, "Hey, Saab, you're crying." And she's like, "You fucking idiot, you're crying too." But I was like, yeah, no, I just feel bad because it's like we're given no context on the father.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's different in the movie, but like we have no idea what his deal is because he's just not been a character yet. And it's like I think because of that, he feels very like impersonal, and it makes it really easy to sympathize with Takao's mother.
Hmm.
And then I put, Jesus fucking Christ, no, why is Miho gone already? And then I had no notes on anything until the very end, and I put, aw geez, he's going meta, oh man.
What?
What?
Because that's when he starts hearing the narrator kind of like
Oh
when the
yeah.
text starts coming in. And I was like, oh man, he's going meta. Oh no. And then that just gets abandoned in chapter two. I have no idea. Chapter two was confusing to me. Like a lot of it made sense, but I had this one lingering question the whole time being, who the fuck is this Yukino chick? And then I feel like it only kind of got answered.
I feel like she's very eccentric.
Yeah, she's an interesting one. I pulled out from the early paragraphs the quote, clever looking forehead. I just thought that was a funny line. Does your forehead look clever or does it look like an idiot forehead? Find out now.
Honestly, we stand a phrenology queen.
All right. Uh, so yeah, I guess and Robert, do you want to open chapter 2 proper?
Right. Um, like open by summarizing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, basically, it switches to Yukino's perspective, and um, they kind of well, they first just kind of sit together. He drops his eraser, she picks it up for him, and then um, the Paco like seems to maybe recognize her, but uh, turns out that he doesn't. Um, but Yukino is like, we may have met actually, and then tells him a poem, which and just like leaves.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
refuses to elaborate further.
that was a I think that was the big thing that confused me about the chapter because I was just left thinking like, okay, who is this woman? Because to me it felt ambiguous whether or not they actually have met, and then she just says the poem and leaves, and I'm like, I don't. What does that mean? Did you guys pick up something about that I'm missing here? Like,
She was just being silly. I would do that too if I had if I was less repressed.
okay, all right. Well, there's like she says something before she says, "Oh, we might have met somewhere," where she talks about like the leanness of like his neck or something, and she was like, "Oh, that explains it." And then she says, "I think we have met before." Actually, what does that mean? I didn't understand that part at all.
What? Um,
There's
Okay,
something oddly mature about the weakness of the area between his ears and his neck.
yes, that's what, and I'm like, what? What? What does that? It felt like a hint to something that she noticed and picked up on, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what the fuck that means. So I'm like, I'm hoping you guys understood it, and I'm just being dumb.
I don't.
All right. Okay, I guess we will never know.
hold on, let me find it.
All right.
Wait, it's near the start of the chapter, or is it near the end?
It's near the start. It's like before she goes into it's before we go into like the flashbacks involving her.
Mm.
Oh yeah. There's something oddly mature about the leanness of the area between his ears and his neck. On his slender frame, he wears a dazzlingly bright white uniform shirt and a gray vest. Maybe it's something to do with the school uniform.
See, that's what I thought too, but I'm pretty sure she picks up on the fact that it's a school uniform like way earlier in the chapter.
But maybe it's like the colors of the uniform that like denote that it's a specific school.
Maybe. Damn. Okay,
I
now
don't
I wish
know.
now I wish I remembered how she described the uniform from the school that she went to.
Did she describe it?
I think she did. I don't remember
Let me
though.
see.
Oh yeah, I think we're getting a little off track here.
That's who cares? This isn't a book club. We don't need to be on track all the time.
Oh
Yeah, it
yeah,
doesn't say. What does it say?
a matter red ribbon, a mocha colored blazer, and skirt.
Is that middle school or high school?
That's I'm
That
pretty
was
sure
high
that's high
school.
school. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, my bad. No wait, but the other guys, the guys in high school, right, Taco? Like she's
Yeah.
in middle school in the flashback, but
Yeah. No, he's in high school now. All right. Well, yeah, that was confusing. It made Yukino very that the fact that that question was lingering for me the whole time, it was like, fuck. I feel like just confused about the rest of it. Like the rest of it made sense, but on the whole, I feel confused about chapter 2. Is what I'm trying to say.
she's just fucking weird, and I appreciate that.
This is based weird girl representation.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Um, yeah, and then
Save me.
yeah,
Mm.
she goes into like the one teacher that she really likes. I forget her name, and
Nako.
I just put Yukino may be gay.
Right.
I mean
No, no,
that's
no. I relate to that though. Like my Japanese teacher, that I had in high school was like the same. Like it was like kind of similar for me in that she was like, in it wasn't just her; it was the other kids. It was the other kids also, but like I felt like I could really be myself there in a way that I really couldn't anywhere else at the time.
I see. Yeah, no, I mean I put Yukino may be gay and then but not really. Um, because yeah, I was
Damn.
just fucking around really. I don't know. I do think the description um of how she sees the teacher kind of is maybe a little gay. Like
Maybe.
it doesn't help that later on when they're walking back to Yukino's home, she says like, "Oh, this feels like what I imagine it would be like to break up with someone," you know?
Yeah, she's a
And
little
Well,
it's
clear
like
coded.
and it's like that's a very specific feeling. Like I don't personally think I could say anything else feels like that except for losing
actually breaking
contact.
up.
Yeah, except for that and losing contact with someone that you had like romantic interest in. So that's why to me it
Hmm.
was a little queer coded, as Anaconda just said, or Robert said. I need to really get used to that. Um, so yeah, but like on the whole, I mean, she I don't know, maybe she is. She's at least bi if she is. She does say that she likes men in this somewhere. I forget where, but
Yeah, I don't know.
all right. I don't think I don't have any notes on anything for a good minute on chapter 2 after she talks about her art club. Oh yeah, except for the weird vision thing, because that happened to
Oh
Takao
yeah,
too.
the how they like both drew the poem the same way
Yeah, yeah.
independently. Yeah, that was cool. That was like a weird phenomenon, but like not like in the realm of magic.
See,
Like it wasn't super escapist.
what do you mean?
Like I mean like it's easy to just be like, oh, it's this and that is magic, and like there are like mysterious things happening in this world. Um, but like this story seems to like stick more to realism, and um, like I personally like when I was first reading the scene of Takao going into the park, I was assuming there would be some literal garden of words that would like have some like enchanted quality to it, and fix him as a person. So I'm glad that's not
Uh-huh.
happening, and that we see like flawed people talking to each other. Um, like especially Miss Hinako, who's like also going through some shit. Um, like we're just seeing a lot of these like connections between a lot of people, and I appreciate that aspect of the story.
Right, yeah. Okay. I will say that my reading of when Taco gets to the park was that it was enchanted in some way.
Well,
Because
all parks are.
uh but because yeah, like he gets there and then he starts like hearing shit and then he sees Yukino or fuck, Yukino?
Yeah, Yukino.
Yukino, yeah. And then yeah, he starts like just hearing shit and it's like
Schizophrenia.
we don't get we don't get to see his thought process like as he's approaching her, but I just assumed because of the way that chapter 1 ended off that it was because he was hearing shit and then noticed her that he was approaching. Especially because like from the perspective we get from Yukino, I'm pretty sure it tells us like pretty concretely that what he heard wasn't coming from her. Like at the very least, she
Hmm.
didn't verbally speak it.
Yeah,
And then
but
and
then
then
she
yeah.
does verbally speak it at the end.
Yeah, so like that was one other thing that made the whole thing confusing for me because it's like, okay, so is there a magic thing going on that she's just like aware of and that she's fucking with him? Because otherwise, how would she know to say those specific words, you know? And then yeah, like the scene where um I keep forgetting the teacher's name. What is it?
Hinako.
Hanako.
Yeah,
Hinako?
Hinako.
Oh.
Yeah, so when Miss Hinako like is talking about the poem and they both have like that vision or something, I was like, okay, something's going on here. Um, and I guess like what's probably coloring my interpretation of this is knowing that it's adapted from an anime film. So I just kind of assume that magical shit is going to be happening, like regardless of circumstance. So maybe my interpretation is a bit unfair because in the context of just the book, I have no reason to really assume that, or at
Not
least not
all
as.
anime has like magic stuff.
I can
Like
assure you that there is no magic.
like in
Oh,
like
okay.
in End of Evangelion, for instance, that's an anime film. There's no magic that happens.
Aren't there
Right.
giant mech robots?
No, yeah,
It's
those are
technology,
science.
it's
Those are
different.
science.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. That's magic science.
Listen, do you want me to get you demonetized or not?
I don't know what you mean. It's magic science. Like, they're too big. If it's real science, build me one right now.
Emilio, you would be surprised at what three little words can do to your profits.
We can't get monetized for at least like a month.
At least like a month.
I don't remember the exact number, but they're like, yeah, your account has to exist for this long. And I'm like, okay.
And you also have to have like subscriber
Oh
goals as
yeah, you
well.
have
I
to have a
swear it's like
thousand
6 grand
subscribers.
subscribers or something.
Yeah, it's 1,000.
Hmm.
And
We will never get that in our lifetime.
I only have two avenues with which to promote this. Neither of them work very well. So I don't have a fear of being demonetized at the moment, I must say. But yeah, anyway, I guess Robert said that there is no magic.
Hey,
There's no magic.
what if instead of demonetized it was lemonetized and you got turned into a lemon?
What if instead of lemonized, uh it was fucking I fuck, where was the joke I had for this? Oh well.
Get fucked.
Man, I'm just gonna cut that whole bit out. I win.
Right.
No, I'm not.
Good game.
GG's. Say GG.
GG.
Alright, I don't remember anything that happens after the poem scene up until where she's like getting in an elevator and because I pulled out the specific line which is I know what to do with my appearance now. I'm doing everything right. I didn't
Mhm.
have any specific notes about that line. I just kind of wanted to present it and see what you guys thought about it. Because I said I feel like this reveals something about Yukino, but I can't quite place what it reveals. So I want to know what your guys' take is.
She just wants to not really have to worry about appearance. She just wants to not really care about that stuff.
All right.
Like, oh, I'm doing everything right. What are you doing? You do not have a skincare routine and stuff. Like,
Really?
Which poem is this?
presumably.
Which thing is this?
Um,
She's getting into an elevator with someone, and I think it's for work, or it's like before she like gets on the train, and she goes into describing like her appearance and how she like did her hair and her makeup is perfect and her suit is
oh
whatever.
wait, my bad. She did put effort in. I forgot.
And then she's like, I would be embarrassed to be you because the guy has like bedhead and his suit is like old and you can tell and stuff like that. And then she says, I know what to do with my appearance now. I'm doing everything right. And if I remember right, the context of her saying that specifically is that she was like, yeah, there's nothing this guy could find to criticize me about.
Why is she scared of that?
Wait, what?
It maybe
I
said
thought.
this
Oh,
maybe has some statement to make about it's page 28.
yeah.
This maybe has some statement to make about femininity in society and the things that imposes upon people. Wow, I'm so
Right.
smart.
Okay, so I'm gonna challenge that interpretation a little bit in that the reason it stuck out to me is that she says that she always stood out for her beauty,
Hmm.
and the things that she describes doing in regards to her appearance all sound like things that would only accentuate it. So,
Well, this is like in the modern day. Well, the beauty was like when she was like in school, but now she's an adult.
right, no, I understand that, but I mean, it's still, I still think it is notable that like she would do all these things that would only accentuate something that she used to stand out for, and then
Hmm.
frame it in a way as like, oh, you can't say anything about this because I'm doing everything right. And so for me,
Huh.
like the curious part of that line is what does she define as everything right? Because I wouldn't expect someone who had been like, stood out from the crowd or ostracized or whatever it may be for their beauty to dive into it and then consider that doing everything right, you know? I would more so expect someone like that to, if they're gonna do anything in regards to appearance, maybe like try to water down how it is, so that way they don't stand out anymore.
I don't think she really has a choice. I think that's what like all like women her age would slash should do.
I see. Okay.
Like that's just how things are done, and the status quo is not really questioned.
Got you. Robert, did you have anything you wanted to say about that? The line?
Yeah, I think like I'm pretty sure it mentions earlier that like her beauty like kind of um what was it? It kind of plateaued um
Yeah,
at high school.
she fell off.
She
Okay. Right.
and like I guess I'd interpret it to mean that like by dressing in this way, maybe she looks like any other office woman,
Hmm.
and so she like would
Yeah, she's playing into the scenery just like Taco was.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because now I'm remembering specifically that she mentions that she has like this really tight high bun, and I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
that is like the perfect office woman image that she's going for then. All right, yeah, that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. I like the framing that like she fell off in high school. She peaked in high school. Crazy thing to say.
Maybe.
And then let me think. For the rest of the chapter, the only note I have is don't fuck the high schooler, don't fuck the high schooler, which is which I put there
What?
because of the end scene.
He means like Taco.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think she's gonna fuck Taco.
I'm hoping not. That's why I put
Because
the
that'd be
note there.
stupid.
That would be stupid.
It'd be funny as hell though. Like imagine putting that in your story.
ugh.
Yeah, it was like it's literally like the last couple of lines. She says, "You're going to school now?" Takao replies, "I decided I'd only skip on raining mornings." And then she says, "You did, huh? We might meet again then." And she adds, "Just maybe, if it rains." And then it says, as the boy reacts with some confusion, Yukino distantly thinks, apparently I actually want that. And that's what made me think, like, oh, okay, I hope this doesn't turn into a romance. I think it would work better if it wasn't. Besides the fact that, she's like an adult, and I'm pretty sure Takao is like 15 in this scene.
Yeah.
This really says a lot about femininity in society that a woman can't express her desire for social interaction without it being misconstrued as some desire for sex or romance.
I don't think it does.
You literally just misconstrue. Come on.
It's not really about the woman thing. It's about that's an adult and that's a kid.
I know that, but like, why was it brought up in the first place?
Because that's an adult and that's a kid.
No, like, why did you assume they were gonna get together in any capacity, or like even think it would be a possibility?
Because she said, apparently I actually want that. And
By that, he referred to meeting him again.
yes, which can have a lot
Yeah,
of different connotations. And I think that's kind of a weird thing to think when you're an adult and that's a kid.
you motherfuckers are 3 years younger than me, or like two.
And we're all adults. What's your point?
I don't know. Like I feel like shutting like those sorts of things down like always is kind of like the reason why Taco is the way he is. Like he just has no one to talk to, and we're gonna like see in this story how he like presumably how he like actually like gets someone to talk to.
Right. I mean, I don't disagree. I did just remember a line earlier though when she first like encounters Takao, and she's like, "Oh, is this like a line? Is he like trying to pick me up?" And she
Yeah.
quickly decides like that's not what is happening. But that
Uh-huh.
definitely like implanted the idea of the possibility that that could be where the story goes, even though Takao definitely wasn't,
Mhm.
And that's why I'm like, okay, I'm hoping it doesn't happen. I'm hoping that is not where this could go. Especially because like it is somewhat possible, at least to me, that the story is like, oh, they this happens multiple times over the course of like years, and then
Mhm.
it's after Takao is an adult, which is still like not good. So yeah, that's why I was thinking in that direction.
I was thinking that like the line was that like she was like kind of like looking for some excuse to not take him seriously or like trying to filter him out. Because
Uh,
like if he was trying to pick her up, then like um she would just like laugh at him and disappear into the shadows.
yeah, but yeah, it's like it's not for me. It wasn't like a very serious prediction as to where the story would go, but just like, gee, it would fucking suck if it went that way.
It would be funny though.
Sure, yeah, we can call it that. All right.
Like like give you like some like tale of social isolation with like these like wholesome like oh two strangers being up and that'd be like all twisted and like they'd be this like fucked up relationship.
You know, that actually reminds me. That was another reason why I thought there was a possibility of it going that way because of how Dako describes the way he feels when he's with Miho.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Because that,
There's really parallels there.
because yeah, that like that struck a chord with me where he's just like, yeah, this all this seems a lot more worth it when I'm with her, and I think
Uh-huh.
just being with her can like make me a better person, so I won't need her to be with me to see all this is worth it, you know? Like that was
Hmm.
already something that was very lightly touched on, and so that was another thing that made me think like that's a possible route for this story to go, where it's just like, yeah, you know, love does make a lot of this seem way better than it would
Hmm.
without it when you're miserable, you know?
Hmm.
So yeah.
I, for one, am definitely hoping that like these characters learn to not rely on love for human connection.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think overall that's like a better way to take the story. Because I
Hmm.
mean, or I guess the way I would put it is just that it doesn't need to be romantic love. Because you can definitely love platonically for human connection and still get a lot of those same feelings, you know?
Yeah, yeah, fair. I meant mostly like without romance.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I just like wanted to clarify.
Hmm.
But so Robert, for that like those last couple of lines, how did you interpret that?
Fine
Yeah,
what?
I mean, I was thinking just like a meeting in platonic terms.
Right. All right. Okay. So yeah, that was the last thing I took note of. I don't remember anything that happens between. Or you know what? I regret not taking any notes of. It was the scene where they're walking home, where Miss fucking I can't
Hinako?
Hinako, yeah, Hinako and Yukino are walking away and stuff. I didn't take any notes on that scene, and I wish I did. I think that was a good scene. I think it's a scene worth
Yeah.
talking about. So hopefully you guys remember some of it so we can talk about it,
Hmm.
because I only remember bits and pieces.
Yeah, personally, like, I really appreciate like the part where like um Miss Hinako says like it's all right after all, everybody has their quirks, and like
Yeah, no, I read
it's
that
such
and
a
I was,
weird thing to say,
it is, and it
but
was,
like I really like how Yukino deconstructs it later on. For the first time, she realizes her teacher wasn't fine at all. In an instant, everything is crystal clear to her, as if the other woman's heart has possessed her. She knows exactly what Miss Hinako was thinking as she desperately held the weakening stitches of her heart together, as she proclaimed that she wasn't alone in her uniqueness. It's rising up before her as large as life. Earnestly defending herself to a high schooler far younger than she, it's exactly what Yukino is doing now. That's funny as hell.
yeah, no, I really like that passage. I don't know if I would have called it funny. Personally, like I can see the humor in it, but like I don't know. To me, it was just a good line.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like her being able to reflect on that, um, and be like, "Damn, this is how it feels." Like I like that a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah. I like those. Like, it's a good moment of introspection.
Yeah, and it's like it's a good example of like what I'm liking about the writing so far.
Hmm.
It feels like the way that I guess this is gonna sound egotistical. It feels like the way I would frame a character's thoughts about something like that, and I like that a lot. I like that it's like, yeah, had this realization, and it's not just like a minor one. Like it fucking hits her, because for it to
Yeah.
be for it to be meaningful, it has to just fucking hit her.
Uh huh. But like, it doesn't like it isn't like super late in the plot revelation too. Like, it's not like the main point of the story either. It's just like something that just hits her out of nowhere, and she's like, "Oh, okay, damn,"
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
It shows us that these characters are not gonna like struggle to grow the whole story and then finally at the end hit that moment of growth. It's like they're gonna have these revelations and realizations all throughout, and that's gonna play into how they become people.
Absolutely, it's a continuous process.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and like that's really good. I feel like I've read a few stories where it's like a character doesn't really get to grow until the last few moments where everything that's happened hits them, and now they grow. and it doesn't feel real. That doesn't feel like how change happens, you know? There can be inciting incidents for some sort of growth in a person where it's like maybe that's when they start internalizing more of the things than before. But like you have these realizations here and there, and I think this realization that Yukino has is like one of those inciting incidents for her, where it's like she's not going to be a significantly different person coming out of it, but it's a realization that she needed to have.
You know,
Yeah.
if this were a bad story, the Takao texting Miho, "I've decided to grow up," would be the last line of the story.
Yeah,
But it isn't, so it's a good story.
yeah, no, you're so right. I didn't even think about that, but I like completely agree. Like if this story would suck, it would just be that's the last line. That's when he's deciding to to be better, or you know,
Yeah.
and it's like it's something that I've seen work before, but it's also it has to work in tandem with growth as a continuous process.
Hmm.
Like I think it's different for your character to like be growing the whole time you see it, and then at the end he's like, "Well, fuck, I have a lot more to do," and then
Hmm.
like that's the resolution compared to if he was just like struggling with shit and the consequences of him not growing up, and then the last line was, "I've decided to grow up." Like that would suck.
Yeah.
I think I think it's interesting though because I feel like that on an emotional level, it would feel like good storytelling until you looked back at it and you were like, wait, this character didn't grow at all until the end when he
I
decides to
got nothing
grow.
out of this. I was scammed. Scammed.
Yeah, but it's like I think that that line was really, um, like I said earlier, it was a powerful line to me at the end of chapter one because it
Uh-huh.
feels like he's like been given this quest after making a
Yeah, yeah.
resolution. And I think I would have had that same feeling if it came at the end, but then the rest of the story would also just kind of be mid, because it's like, okay, so what did we really see here? Someone learning that they need to grow up? Like that's as a story that feels like overplayed. It feels insubstantial.
Wow, child need to become adult. Truly, this has never happened before.
Yeah. Robert, I kept seeing your icon light up. Were you trying to get in any words edgewise or?
No, it's
All right, all right. Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, as for my notes for these two chapters, it's all I had. Is there anything else in these two chapters that any of you wanted to talk about that we didn't touch on?
Um.
mm, I don't think
Oh
so.
yeah. Um. How does everyone feel about like alcohol in this book?
Okay. I didn't even think about it really. To be honest with you.
Like because Taco and Yukino like have different experiences with alcohol.
The main thought I had regarding alcohol, before you asked this question, was that it seems really weird to me that everyone's drinking beer,
Mm-hmm.
because beer fucking sucks, from what I've heard. Like, I've met very few people who really enjoy the taste of beer, and I was like,
Yeah, but you
maybe,
have to consider the emotional reasons as to why. A lot of the time, alcohol is just there to drain away the sorrows.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Fiora
Um,
gets it.
It kind of is. I actually kind of like to compare the two metaphors about alcohol drinking in this novel to the rain. Like they both bring about pretty similar thoughts in a way.
mm,
Mm.
yeah, I picked up on that, but I mean, my thoughts here about beer specifically were a lot more surface level because I was just thinking like, does am I missing some context? Is like beer in Japan like just different from what I'm thinking of, and that's why this like 20 something old woman is sitting in a park with a can of it that she got from a vending machine or something. Um, yeah, those are the only thoughts I had about the use of alcohol in the story before you had asked this question, Aaron.
Yeah.
Now that you have asked, I would say that yeah, my thoughts still run like pretty surface level because I haven't thought about it all that much, and I'm still just like, wow, they had the middle schooler, chugging that shit down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I guess that makes sense. With the thing that Fiora just mentioned, being that it's like it's a way to express or like ease the sorrow that the characters are experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
But in that case,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that like Yukino is just like kind of chilling in the park and drinking some.
Yeah.
Like, what do you guys think that's about?
She reached sort of uneasy stability.
Huh.
What do you mean?
S-
It's like
Period.
a period where most things are like decent, I guess, but like
It's
not.
like me right now.
Huh?
Uh-huh.
Huh?
It's like me right now.
I know I heard you. I just what?
I'm in a state of unease. Come on, you know me.
Oh, okay, my bad. But yeah, I guess that makes sense. I think that it's gonna be more relevant probably later in the story. The fact that like Tako's mother seems to be an alcohol. I think I don't know how it'll be relevant. I don't really have any predictions as to that, but like I think the use of alcohol as a metaphor will become a lot more like clear, at least to me, if we do get more about like alcoholism specifically in relation to Tako's mother. Because she's really the only person we've seen
Mhm.
that we can like say is like, yeah, that's an alcoholic. Because Takao just kind of drinks it, but doesn't like it, and only does it sometimes. And then with Yukino, I think we only see her really drink it like basically recreationally. Because like I said, she's just in the park and chilling, and she has a bottle
Mhm.
or a can. So
Yeah, I think it's like the main like thing. The reason why alcohol was like very powerful to me as a thing is because like of that one scene where Taco was like drinking when he was like 12 years old. I was like,
mhm.
that's kind of weird.
That
Like,
was an intense scene.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I think that's why the author probably made that choice, honestly, because like it hits a lot harder, or at least in my mind, it sticks out more when you're reading it. When you're like, oh yeah, this kid is 12 and he's fucking chugging down this fucking alcohol right now. Like
Hmm.
he is slamming that shit.
Yeah.
And it even says it's like he hates the taste so much that he's like crying while he's drinking, but he's still doing it.
Hmm.
Cause yeah, that was an intense scene. But that actually reminds me. I forgot to mention in the scene where Takao's mother and father are arguing before the dad just leaves, where where Takao says to his mom, he's like, I forgot exactly what he says. He's like, I just started middle school. You were wrong. I'm not an adult yet. And the mom just smiles sadly, looks down, and says, I know. I think
Yeah.
that hit like hard, and I can't even really put into words why. I was just like,
Mhm.
fuck. I feel so bad for all these people involved right now.
Yeah, it's because she like knows that what she what she's doing like isn't enough for him, but she's doing her best.
Yeah. And it's like it's
It's like
if
how do
it
you even live with yourself with that?
yeah. And if the marriage was bad enough that they wanted a divorce, asking either of them to have waited for Takao to be an adult is just so like unrealistic, so unfair, really.
Hmm.
That was actually something I forgot to take note of earlier, where it's like part of why I took note of like Takao feeling like shit shouldn't have to go down is that he has the thought like, why couldn't you wait 3 years? And I'm just like, you don't get it. Like, I get you're a kid, so it makes sense that you don't get it. But if it was bad enough that they already decided to get a divorce, waiting 3 years would not have been an option.
Hmm.
Not one that worked. Not one that would have really made you any happier. Like you might
Hmm.
have gone into high school and been more miserable person because now you have parents that are locked into a loveless marriage.
Hmm.
And we see from the argument that it's like it's not even just loveless. Like something happened. They do not like each other.
Yeah,
At the very least, the dad doesn't like the mom.
they don't want to be with each other in general.
Yeah. So I'm glad you brought the alcohol because that reminded me of that, and I was like, fuck, that was an intense scene. That was hard.
Mhm.
All right. So is there anything else you guys wanted to touch on before we wrap up?
Um, what about the poetry?
I'm gonna be honest. I have a bad habit when I read stuff like this where I don't really pay attention to text that isn't the writing itself. So I don't know what the poems say. And like the ones that Yukino like recites in her chapter, I don't remember. So like the ones that were like after or before the chapters themselves start properly, I
Mhm.
didn't read, and then the other ones I don't remember.
That's fair. Yeah, like is it there's definitely like another way of interpretation that you gotta do because like you have to interpret the story as is, and then you have to interpret the poems as they like make sense within the story, and it's all just kind of annoying, I guess.
Yeah, it was also like I also just didn't expect the story to have an element like that to it that that I would need to pay attention to. So I'll definitely like make effort to pay attention to it for future chapters. It's just for
Mhm.
like these two, I didn't pay it any mind.
Yeah, I think this one that Yukino was reciting was like it goes like this. I'm a little chilled because I've been wandering in the drizzling rain, all alone. My palms, my forehead are damp. When did I become so dark? I'm waiting here like this, waiting for lights to come on. This is recited by Miss Hinako.
I
And I
see.
think this like it's a good representation of her character. Like she's just leaning here, like even she is like leaning on having um the students for to talk to them, and like that's why she's like paying so much mind to like making sure Yukino like feels included, I guess, because like she's also been going through that stuff. She knows what it's like.
Right. All right. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I should have paid more attention to that stuff, and I just fucked up this time.
I didn't pay much attention to it either. I just came up with that interpretation on the spot. It,
No way.
like because like you don't know what's going on with Miss Hinako at the time. Like you don't really give it a second thought, which I
Yeah.
think was intended. But like revisiting it makes it hit harder.
Yeah. All right. Then then are we wrapping up now or? All right, that was yeah. So we're wrapping up now. That was chapters 1 and 2 of Garden of Words by Minato. No, not Minato. Fuck. Why am I so bad with these names?
Makoto Shinkai.
Makoto
Ah!
Shinkai. Yeah. Next time we talk about this, we'll be doing chapters 3 and 4. The next
Presumably.
episode will be Lisa Part 1 up until some arbitrary point that Aaron has decided for us.
Up
I will
until you get the
actually,
child's bicycle.
yeah, I will actually just start playing that some point today probably because I have
Oh,
not
that's
done
funny
that yet.
though. I'm
Yeah,
hyped to
same
see your
probably.
reaction.
So yeah, we'll be doing that next time. Thank you for
We
joining us. Unless you're a finance bro, in which case, fuck you. I fucking
all
hate
know it
finance
comes here.
bros.
This is the worst bit, but also the best bit. The
There
fucking
are no
bro.
bad bits. There are
True.
only old bits. But yeah, thank you for joining us.
Hmm.
And we will, let's see, I should have this up probably either tomorrow or Sunday, one of the two.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, I'll definitely
Next
have
episode
next,
next Wednesday.
yeah, next episode will be recorded next Wednesday. I'll have it up on Thursday. And we will see you guys then.
Hmm.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
See ya.